All right. Oh, let me just check something here. Wouldn't be live class without some kind of error message. I'm getting an error message. Oh well, I think it's okay. I don't know. I hope everybody can hear me. How is everyone doing today? Oh, as usual, I have today some notes from the various classes I've had today. And so we will go through them. So these are the actual things that we talked about during today, various classes. And so we will go through them. And we will start with a basic class. If you're watching this live with me, then of course, if you have questions, then please ask in the chat. And if I see them, I will be happy to answer them for you, answer your questions. So let's see. Oh, we've got Hadi Hassan Atari today. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while, Hadi Hassan. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so let's start. We're going to start with our basic class here. Usually when I have a very basic student, and this is a very basic student, we start with a little exercise with the dates. So, and this is a way to practice making questions in the future, in the past, and in the present, while also practicing the days of the week, practicing numbers and saying months. So it's a pretty useful exercise. Even if you're not a beginner, sometimes it's hard. I have some people I know who should be able to do this and can't. So don't run away because you think it's too basic. It's probably not. Okay, so we start with these facts, okay? Number 1, yesterday was Friday, March 15th. Number 2, today is Saturday, March 16th. And number 3, tomorrow will be Sunday, March 17th. Okay, so now listen to my question. I'm going to ask you a question with number 1. Was yesterday Tuesday, March 15th? Was yesterday Tuesday, March 15th? And I'm asking you in normal English, not slow classroom English, normal English. Was yesterday Tuesday, March 15th? What is your answer? How do you answer no to that question? No. No, yesterday wasn't. No, yesterday wasn't. No, yesterday wasn't Tuesday. No, it wasn't Tuesday, March 15th. No, it wasn't Tuesday, March 15th. How would you make a what day yesterday question with that sentence? What day? What day was? What day was yesterday? What day was yesterday? And the answer is yesterday was Friday, March 15th. Okay, let's try number 2. How will you ask me today, Thursday? How will you do that? Today, Thursday? Is today? Is today? Is today Thursday? Is today Thursday, March 16th? Is today Thursday, March 16th? How do you answer no to that question? No. No, today. No, today isn't. No, today's not. No, today isn't. No, today isn't. Thursday, March 16th. No, today's not Thursday, March 16th. Now, how do you make a what day today question? What day today? What day? What day is? What day is today? That might sound like what days? What days today? What days today? What day is today? What day is today? And the answer is Thursday. Today is Thursday. Oh, no, today is Saturday. Oh, I'm off to a bad start today. Today is Saturday, March 16th. Today's Saturday, March 16th. Okay, let's try number 3. Oh, Hadi Hassan Atari is answering very well. He's not making any mistakes. Let's see. Let's try number 3. And people really get confused with number 3. Okay. How will you ask a yes/no question with number 3? So ask me tomorrow, Wednesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday. Will tomorrow be? Will tomorrow be? Will tomorrow be Wednesday? Will tomorrow be Wednesday? Will tomorrow be Wednesday? Answer no. No. No, tomorrow. Tomorrow will not. Tomorrow won't. Tomorrow won't be. Tomorrow won't be. Tomorrow won't be Wednesday. Tomorrow will not be Wednesday. Tomorrow will not be Wednesday, March 17th. Ask me what day tomorrow. What day tomorrow? What day will tomorrow? What day will tomorrow be? What day'll tomorrow be? What day will tomorrow be? What day'll tomorrow be? And the answer is Sunday. Tomorrow will be Sunday. Tomorrow will be Sunday, March 17th. That's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patty's Day to everyone. All right. Also, another thing that we like to do in a beginner class is practice numbers, because numbers are important. They're a little bit boring, but they're kind of important. So we just run through some numbers. Here we were talking about the 60,000s. So let's just go down this list of numbers and we'll say each one. So the first number is what? 60,000. 61,000. 62,000. 63,000. 64,000. 66,000. 67,000. 68,000. 69,000. Okay, now let's go back and take a look at this number. What is this number here? It is 62,000. Okay, let's put these two numbers together. 62,000 plus this number here. 62,900. Now let's add this number. 62,930. Now let's go all the way through that. 62,931. 62,932. 62,933. 62,934. 62,935. 62,936. 62,937. 62,938. 62,939. Okay, I'm going to say a number, and if you're listening, I'm going to say the number, I want you to write the answer in the chat. Okay, so you listen to my number that I'm saying in my head, I have it in my head, I'm going to say it, and I want you to type the answer in the chat. You ready? I'm going to say it in regular English. See if you can follow. 63,942. 63,942. 63,942. Let's try one more. Nobody's writing in the chat. but let's try another one. See if you can write it. Write it in the chat. Go ahead. Here's another one. 61,246. Oh, Hadi Hassan Atari wrote the correct answer on YouTube. 63,942. But now I forgot my other number, so I better write it down because I can't hold that number in my head. I'm going to say a new number. Let's see. Here's a new number. 62,521. 62,521. I've got my people watching on Rumble, but they're not writing anything in the chat. Come on. 62,521. Can you write that? Okay, I think there's a delay in the chat, but I've got the number here so I can remember. Hadi Hassan Atari has written the correct number on YouTube, 62,521. Okay. And now this is a very basic class that I was doing with this girl, and we were reading a very basic article called Man v. Desert. Man v. Desert. When you see that V, Man v. Desert, that means man versus desert. That means there's a competition. On the one hand, you have man, and on the other hand, you have the desert. Okay, so when you see that V, it's always a competition. Like, I don't watch sports, so I don't know any sports teams, but that would be like sports team blue v sports team green. So when you're talking about a competition, yeah, Hadi Hassanatari says man v wild. Yes, that would be maybe man v animals. But that V means versus, and that means there's a competition, a fight. Okay, so that's the title of the article. And we were reading it. I can't read the article here because I don't want to get into any copyright trouble. But we can talk about the questions or the things that we did during the reading of that article. The first one was that she didn't know the word believe. Okay, so that was a new word for her, believe. And we practiced using believe. So I asked her, I said, do you believe in Santa Claus? And actually, she's a young girl. She's in her early teens, so she was trying to be funny. And she said, yes. So she said, yes, of course, because I wanted her to say no. I wanted her to say, no, I don't believe in Santa Claus. But she said yes. So we were making a joke. And I said, well, you can actually say, of course I believe in Santa Claus. What are you, crazy? Of course I believe in Santa Claus. So let me ask you, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts? How would you answer no to that question? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts? That's a hard word to say, actually, ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts? Tell me no. No, I don't. No, I don't believe in ghosts. Hadi Hassanatari says children believe in Santa Claus. That's right. Usually children. This was a young lady. I think she's 13. I think that's how old she is. So she doesn't really believe in Santa Claus, but she was making a joke. Ask me fairies. How will you make a question? You believe fairies? If you don't know what a fairy is, I'll show you. Now, Hadi Hassanatari says, yes, I believe in ghost. But you cannot say, I believe in ghost. You have to say, I believe in ghosts. You have to make it plural, like a general concept. Ghost is a countable noun. It must have something. It must be plural. Maybe you say I believe in a ghost. I believe in the ghost. I believe in the ghosts. I believe in ghosts. But the one thing you cannot say is I believe in ghost, because ghost is a countable noun. 1, 2, 3. Countable nouns are never alone. You always must have something. And in this case, we're talking about all ghosts. So you have to say I believe in ghosts. That's very difficult to pronounce. Ghost. First you say ghost, and then you stop, and then you say s. Ghost. S. Ghosts. Ghosts. Very difficult to pronounce that word in the plural. Okay, so let's try fairies. Maybe you don't know what a fairy is, so I'll show you a picture of a fairy. Let's see what we get here. These are fairies. They're like little magical creatures. Little teeny magical creatures. These are fairies. So how will you ask me, you believe in fairies? How do you make that question? You believe in fairies? Ask me. Do you? Do you believe? Do you believe in? Do you believe in? Do you believe in fairies? Do you believe in fairies? How will you answer no? How will you tell me no? No, I don't. No, I don't believe in. No, I don't believe in fairies. No, I don't believe in fairies. No, I don't believe in fairies. Ask me magic. Ask me, you believe magic? Do you? Do you believe in? Do you believe in? Do you believe in magic? That's the name. That's a song from the 80s. Do you believe in magic? No, that's from like the 60s. Wow, I'm old. It's from the 1960s. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe in magic? How would you answer no? No, I don't. No, I don't believe in. No, I don't believe in magic. No, I don't believe in magic. Okay, and finally, let's ask about fairy tales. Do you believe? Ask how would you make that question? You believe fairy tales? You believe fairy tales? Do you believe in? Do you believe in fairy tales? No, I don't believe in fairy tales. Hadi Hassan Atari says children are made to believe in tooth fairies. Now the problem with that, Hadi Hassan Atari, is that there's only one tooth fairy. There are not multiple tooth fairies. So you must say the tooth fairy. The, because there's only one. It's very specific. Children believe in the tooth fairy because there's only one tooth fairy. Okay, and then the word through was a new word for this person. And in the article, they were talking about the race through the jungle. And that means they entered the jungle and then they completed it to the other end. So through means you start in one place, you go through the entire thing, and then you come out the other one. The race through the jungle. It means you start in one point and you go in the middle and you come out the other end. So if I say they walked through the park, they walked through the park, how would you make a yes/no question with the sentence, they walked through the park? Did they? Did they walk? Did they walk through? Did they walk through the park? Did they walk through the park? How will you answer no? No. No, they didn't walk through the park. No, they didn't walk. No, they didn't walk through. Through. You start in one point, one end, and then you go all the way to the other end. Walk through. No, they didn't walk through the park. Can you make a where walk through question? Where walk through? Where did they? Where did they? Where did they walk through? Where did they walk through? Where did they walk through? And let's say the library. Hadi Hassan Atari, I can't say your name. Hadi Hassan Atari said, no, they walked through the park. But you cannot make a negative sentence just by saying no. You have to make the verb negative. So the challenge here is, how do you say in the negative, in the past, they no walk? They no walk in the past. How do you do that? How do you tell me in the past, no, they no walk? Can you write that out, Hadi Hassan? God, why am I having trouble with your name? Hadi Hassan Atari. Can you write that? Okay. So let's see. They walked through the library. So they started at one point and then they went to the other side. They walked through the library. That's the answer. They didn't walk through the park. They didn't walk through the park. They walked through the library. They didn't walk through the park. They walked through the library. Okay, let's practice another. Oh, and then we came across an interesting situation. But before we talk about that interesting situation, I'm going to take a 1-minute break. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Let me just fix something here and we can get going. Okay. So we were talking about the meaning of the word through, which means you start in one point and you finish at the other end, and you visit all the points in between. That's when you use the word through. And then I realized there's a very useful word that I can give you, a very useful phrasal verb. But first, we have to talk about this vocabulary word, scroll. If you don't know what a scroll is, really, this is a scroll. Scroll. These are an old-fashioned picture of a scroll. Okay. Now, if you think about what scroll could mean as a verb, it's like turning something and seeing something at the same time. So actually, this is a very useful phrasal verb for the internet. Scroll through. Scroll through. Scroll through is what you do when you look at a web page. You can scroll up, you can scroll down. Think about the scroll, what a scroll is. It's like a very long piece of paper, and you open it and close it by turning around. So if you scroll up, you're doing this motion and you're also reading something. And if you scroll down, same thing. And when you scroll through a website or scroll through a book, it's digital, and you're using your mouse to go up and down to look at something. It's a very common phrasal verb on the internet, to scroll through something. It's like explore something on the internet, a web page, a blog, even a video. I think, well, really, you would use a different word for a video. So it's more for web pages or blogs or something like that. Scroll. Okay. So let's practice using scroll through for a minute. Here is a sentence. She scrolled through his social media profile. She scrolled through his social media profile. So think of scroll through as meaning explore on the internet, because you're using your mouse, you're turning the wheel. I've got my wheel here. Scrolling. This is scrolling. Scrolling up, scrolling down, but scrolling through is exploring everything. Hadi, I'm going to start saying Hadi, that's easier. Hadi says, in the old days, a piece of paper or leather used as a letter and rolled up. That's right. That's like the really old way of, the 1,000-year-old way of making a book. Okay, but we use it now to talk about the internet, going up, going down, or going through, exploring it all. She scrolled through his social media profile. How would you make a yes/no question with that sentence? Did she scroll through? Did she scroll through his? Through his? Did she scroll through his social media profile? Did she scroll through his social media profile? How would you answer no? No. No, she didn't. No, she didn't scroll through. No, she didn't scroll through his social media profile. No, she didn't scroll through his social media profile. How will you make a what she scroll through question? What she scroll through? What did she? What did she scroll? What did she scroll through? What did she scroll through? Like, what did she explore on the internet? What web page, what blog did she explore on the internet? What file, like a PDF file? Okay, and the answer is his website. His website. How will you answer that question? She scrolled through his, she scrolled through his website. She scrolled through his website. Okay. So again, we were reading an article called "Man v Desert," a very basic English article, and it was about a race, different races. There was a race through the Sahara Desert, a race through the jungle of Brazil, and there was one more race. Oh, a race through the South Pole, believe it or not. Okay, so that's the context of these questions. All right. So I had to ask her, what race, number one, difficult? What race most difficult? So we have a choice of three races: the race through the Sahara, the race through the jungle of Brazil, or the race through the South Pole, really across the South Pole. So how would you make a question, what race most difficult? How would you make a question with that? What race is the most difficult? What race is the most difficult? Okay, and the answer, according to the article, was the Marathon des Sables is the most difficult. Okay, so that's the answer, according to the article that we were reading. And that, I think, is a race across the Sahara Desert. Okay. Let's see. So the race goes through the Sahara Desert. Okay. So now the answer is the race goes through the Sahara Desert. But let's make a question where the answer is no. Ask me, the race go through the Andes Mountains? That's a mountain range in South America. Andes Mountains. Ask me, the race go through the Andes Mountains? How will you make that question? The race go through the Andes Mountains? Does the race? Does the race go? Does the race go through? Does the race go through the Andes Mountains? Does the race go through the Andes Mountains? And tell me no. Tell me Andes Mountains, no. Sahara Desert, yes. No. No, the race doesn't. No, the race doesn't go through. No, the race doesn't go through the Andes Mountains. No, the race doesn't go through the Andes Mountains. The race goes through the Sahara Desert. Okay. Now, in the article, it said that the desert, the Sahara Desert, is a dangerous place, or deserts are dangerous places. How will you make a yes/no question with, if we say deserts are safe places? How would you make a yes/no question with deserts are safe places? Are deserts safe places? Are deserts safe places? Let's answer no. No. No, deserts. No, deserts aren't safe places. Deserts are not. Deserts aren't. Deserts aren't safe places. Deserts aren't safe places. Make a what kind of place deserts question. What kind of place deserts? How would you make a question with that idea? What kind of place deserts? What kind of place? What kind of place? What kind of places are? What kind of places are deserts? What kind of places are deserts? And let's say dangerous. Dangerous. Deserts are dangerous places. Deserts are dangerous places. Deserts are dangerous places. Okay, that was the end of a very basic class. That's where we stopped. So let me just get rid of this basic sign here. And then we moved on to someone who's more intermediate. Let's see. Oh, no, this is from a very advanced person. Okay, this is a Ukrainian person, and she's very advanced. And let's start with the pronunciation here. We've got two words. So her English is very good. She speaks English very well, but her accent sometimes is a problem. So let's look at these two words. Can you see word number 1 and number 2 on the screen? How do you pronounce word number 1? The way that you pronounce this, actually, I should change this. I think there's a little problem in my fake phonetic spelling here. let me add something. Okay. In order to say number 1, there are about 3 sounds in there. So if you say number 1 correctly, it should be like this. Oh, let me change it again. I really have this wrong. Where is it? Where did it go? Sorry, give me a minute. This is because this word is bowls. So they're like bowls, like this. Okay. Now I've got it. It's like 3 sounds. It's oh, balls. A lot of people have a difficult time with this sound. Balls. Oh, balls. Balls. Oh, balls. Let's compare that to number 2, which is bowls. 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 So number 1 is bowls. Oh, balls. And number 2 is bowls. Bowls. Balls. Bowls. Okay. So that's actually pretty difficult for a lot of people to distinguish the difference. What do you think? Is that a word that you have trouble with, or you have trouble understanding the difference between these two, the pronunciation of these 2 words? All right. I don't remember why we were talking about smothering, but smother is when. Actually, I better check the official definition. It's like to cover completely. But when you think of smother, you think of one thing being forced on another thing everywhere. That's smothering. So you can say, you're smothering me, which means, well, actually, wait, let's see what happens if I find a picture of smother. I'm not sure how to say your name. Ekem or SM? I'm not sure. I guess Ekem Sakir? Is that how you say it? I'm not sure. Wait, let me see if I can. I guess that's Turkish. That seems Turkish to me.
Ecem.
Ecem. According to the internet, it's Ecem. So Ecem says that word bowl is hard to pronounce sometimes, but it shouldn't be now. Not if you follow this. Bowl. Bowl. If you say all of those sounds, it should be pretty easy. Okay, so let's get back to smother. Let's see. I'm thinking if I look for a picture of smother, I will find something. No. Oh yeah, I did. I knew I would find a picture like this. So maybe you've seen this in a movie or something when somebody is sleeping and another person takes a pillow and they try to kill the other person. This is how you use smothering. Okay, it's like covering completely. And we would say this person is smothering the other person with a pillow, and it's usually pretty bad. Like if I say you're smothering me, it means you're giving me too much attention. I can't. Leave me alone. Let me breathe. I can't breathe. You're not letting me breathe. So it's kind of a negative word, except when you're talking about food. Okay. So for example, I love butter a lot. So I love food that is smothered in butter. That means it's completely covered in butter. You'll see that on a menu if you're reading a menu. Chicken smothered in butter. Potatoes smothered in butter. And that sounds very good. That sounds very positive. That sounds wonderful. Or what about garlic? I love garlic. So smothered in garlic. You could see that in a menu. It means completely covered in garlic. Or onions. I love things smothered in onions too. Okay. The next thing we were talking about Americans. I'm American. But she was telling me, I guess we were talking about culture maybe, and she was telling me that she appreciates people being very honest, and she feels like sometimes Americans are not very honest with her. They say nice things, but then later they didn't really mean it. They meant maybe the opposite. Something like that. So we were talking about, I think she said false reaction, but she was pronouncing the E at the end of false, and she was saying falsy reaction, but it's not falsy. Just in case you want to know, it's false, no E. False reaction. And I told her, I said, I think Ukrainians or Russians, they have a reputation for being blunt. Blunt is an interesting word. We'll just put that up here. Blunt. To be blunt. Blunt is the opposite of sharp, really. If I Google the word blunt object, let's see what kind of pictures we get. So, for example, you see like when I Google blunt object, I see things like hammers, or look at the bat, the baseball bat. These are blunt. It's the opposite of sharp. They're calling this cleaver, this thing here that's a cleaver, giant knife. They're probably calling it blunt because it's supposed to be sharp, but if you look at it, it looks very old. Probably would not be very effective because it has become blunt. It was sharp before, now it's blunt. This is blunt. We use, and if you think about it, if somebody hits you with something like this, you would feel a lot of pain. So being blunt means being very honest. Not considering people's feelings. So actually, I don't know if you've ever heard the expression to be frank. To be frank. Do you know that expression? To be frank, that's another way to say to be honest. To be frank, to be honest. You can say to be blunt, and it means the same thing. If you say to be blunt, you're kind of saying, I know you're not going to like this. I know you're not going to like what I'm going to tell you, but I have to be honest. That's what it means. So to be blunt, I don't like your class. That means I'm going to be honest and tell you the truth. I don't care if it hurts you. So, Edgem, did I say that right? I forgot already. Edgem?
Edgem?
Yeah, Edgem. Edgem says, frankly, yes. Another way to say frankly is to say to be blunt. Like, frankly, I don't like your class. You could say that. Also, you could say, to be blunt, I don't like your class. It means the same thing. It means I'm going to tell you the truth, and it will hurt a little bit. Okay. So she was telling me, and I think that Russians and Ukrainians, people from Eastern Europe, they have a reputation, or the stereotype is they're very blunt. They're very honest. They don't care if it hurts your feelings. They will tell you the truth. She didn't she's Ukrainian, and she didn't disagree with that, and she prefers that. She prefers people who are blunt. What do you? I think in Mexico they don't like that. I live in Mexico. I'm from the United States, but I live in Mexico and I teach English in Mexico, and I don't think that Mexicans like people to be blunt. They like people to be very indirect, especially if you're going to say something that isn't very nice or that might hurt somebody's feelings. So, what about where you live? Well, Edgem says, frankly, I like your class a lot. Thank you. What about in Turkey, Edgem? Is it better to be blunt and tell people the truth, even if it hurts their feelings? Or is it better to be indirect? Let me know. I have some Turkish students that I deal with every day. So maybe it would be helpful to know if they like me to be blunt or if that hurts their feelings. So she was telling me in the US, people are afraid to be blunt. They're afraid to hurt people's feelings. They're afraid to tell the truth if it will hurt people's feelings. That's what she wanted to say. I don't know why she was doing this, but she was saying, we have the word fake and false, and she was saying fakey and falsy. But it's not, just in case you didn't know that. It's fake and false. Let's see. Okay, and then we started talking about the word cocky. A cock is a rooster. If you don't know what a rooster is, let me show you a picture of a rooster. This is a rooster. But another name for rooster is cock. And I don't have very much experience with animals, so I don't know why this is. But we use the word cocky to talk about someone who is very proud, or who thinks they are the best, even if they are not the best. They think they are the best. So if you say he is cocky, that means, oh, he thinks he's so wonderful, but he's not really that great, actually. So I guess roosters must be very proud animals. I don't know, but it's a pretty common expression. So you might tell someone, "Don't get cocky. Don't start thinking you're the best. You're not." Then we were talking about the word stray. This word stray is interesting because it kind of means like out of place, not in the correct place. When you see a dog in the street or a cat in the street, in Spanish they would say street dog or street cat. We're using Spanish words. But that's not what you say in English. You probably wouldn't say street dog or street cat. What you would say is stray dog or stray cat, because usually when you see a dog or a cat, you think they belong to a human, like they belong in somebody's home. They're somebody's property. So seeing them in the street, it seems wrong or unexpected. They're not in the right place if they're in the street. And so we say stray dog or stray cat, meaning not in the right place. And you can use this word, actually astray, to mean going in the wrong direction. So we have these examples up here. Wait, let me get rid of blunt. Where did I put it? We're not talking about blunt anymore. So to go astray means you were going in the right direction and now you're going in the wrong direction. And then the examples that we use were, he was an alcoholic, but he stopped drinking for many years. Now he's drinking again. And in this situation, you would say he's gone astray. He is now going in the wrong direction. It's also used when talking about very religious people. So, people who are very religious and follow all of the rules, but then one day, for some reason, they decide they don't want to do that anymore. We say go astray. So, she was very religious, but after she moved to the big city, she went astray. And that means she's going in the wrong direction now. She's not following the rules anymore. She's being bad. It's kind of bad to go astray. It means going in the wrong direction, going on the wrong path. Okay. The reason we were talking about that, she was saying, oh, I remember in Ukraine, I used to see roosters in the street that didn't belong to anyone. And you wouldn't really say stray rooster, probably. You probably would use the word feral. We have the word feral here. And that means like an animal that's supposed to grow up domesticated with humans, but was born in the wild. Chickens are never wild. There's no such thing as a wild chicken. They all belong to humans. And if you see a chicken that doesn't belong to a human, you call that feral. When I was explaining a stray to her, he was an alcoholic, but he stopped drinking for years. Now he's drinking again. He's gone astray. She said, oh, is that like if you're addicted to alcohol for many years and then you stop, and then one weekend you drink and drink and drink and you just go crazy one time and you drink and drink and drink? I'm like that with cigarettes. I quit smoking a long time ago, but then sometimes I'll buy a lot of cigarettes and smoke for the weekend, and then I'll say, what did I do? And I'll stop again. But when you get addicted to something and you stop, and then it's like you feel an itch you have to scratch. And when you finally do, oh, sugar. Imagine if you stop eating sugar. Everybody's addicted to sugar these days. So you stop having sugar for many months, but in your head, you're thinking ice cream, cake, all the coffee with lots of sugar, tea with lots of sugar. When you finally decide to break the rules, you go crazy for a few days. And this is a binge. That's what a binge is. So you can have a drinking binge, you can have a drug binge, and very recently, when Netflix started, a new word appeared, which is binge watch. And that's when you watch the entire season of a TV show in one weekend. You just watch one after another after another. Binging is very extreme. It's when you do one thing at one time in a very excessive quantity. That's a binge. Eating binge, drinking binge, drug binge watching. Okay, so Etchem says that some people in Turkey are blunt and some people are not. So it's a mix in Turkey. Some people like honesty and some people don't. Okay, then she was asking me, well, you know, I heard some people using the word pretty to talk about a man. And I thought that was strange. Can you do that? Can you say that a man is pretty? You could. This is a difficult situation to talk about because I'm not sure if YouTube will how YouTube will react. But if you say that a man is pretty, because pretty is usually used for, almost always used for women, what you are saying is that it's an attractive man, but in a feminine way. Okay, so it could be like, let me find a picture here. Pretty boy. Let's see, let's find a pretty boy. I don't know. Oh gosh. But when you're doing it, you're saying that the person is attractive, but not in a masculine way, in a feminine way. And it could be an insult, it could be a compliment. It depends on who's saying it and how. Let me just see if I can find a good picture to use here. Maybe something like this. let me pull this up. Okay, so this guy, I mean, I don't think that he's gay, right? So we're not calling him gay, but we're just saying, well, he's attractive, but kind of in a feminine way. Does that make sense? But it can also be used to call someone gay if you want. So let's see if we scroll through. We'll probably see some very gay-looking people eventually. Not really. I'm kind of surprised. Earlier, I just did this class a few hours ago. I did find a super gay-looking person. You could say that about them if you want. It's not necessarily a compliment, though. It depends on how you say it. Okay, but yes, you could use pretty to talk about men. I wouldn't do it, but that's when you would do it if you wanted to. Okay, what else? Okay, she was confused about the pronunciation of these two words. Do you see where it says number 1 up here? You see it says weak and weak. But actually, she was confused. She thought they sounded different, but they don't sound different. They have a long vowel sound in the middle. Ejim says good-looking man. But Ejim, some men are good-looking in a masculine way, and they look very manly. And some men are good-looking in a very feminine way, and that's kind of the difference. So if a man is very masculine-looking, good-looking in a masculine way, you wouldn't call him a pretty boy. He would probably be angry with you. So it depends. It depends on who you're talking to, and what they look like. So wait, let me see. For example, okay, if you remember the picture that I showed you earlier, and then you look at this, like this is, I guess you could say this is a good-looking man, right? But he's not pretty. He doesn't have feminine qualities, so you wouldn't call him a pretty boy. You could, but he probably wouldn't like it. He would probably be confused because he doesn't have that feminine quality to his face. Okay. So she was thinking that there's a difference between the pronunciation of these two words in number 1. She thought these two words in number 1 are pronounced differently, but they're not pronounced differently. They're pronounced in the same way. There's a long vowel sound in the middle. Weak. And they're both pronounced that way. Weak. It's a very big, long sound. She thought one of them sounded like number 2. And number 2 is a word. Let me show you. You probably don't know this word, even if you're pretty advanced, because it's not an extremely common word. But here's a picture of number 2. A wick. A wick is this black part, the string, the stringy part of the candle. So word number 1, it's a very big, long. We're actually going to get into this later when we get to pronunciation. There's a pronunciation part to this. But just for right now, number 1 is a very big, long sound in the middle. Weak. And you push out a lot of air. Weak. That's number 1. Both words sound exactly the same. And number 2, wick, is a short sound and you eat it. You have to push down. Wick. Wick. So number 1 is weak. And number 2 is wick. Wick. It's a sound that you eat. Number 2. Can you hear the difference? Weak, wick, wick. Okay, then she was asking, well, we were talking about this word cocky. What's the difference between that and the other word that I have here, which is a color? Let me just show you. It's a very common word, actually, the second word. It's a color. And that color is like a brownish, a very light brown color. Let me show you a picture of it. Khaki. Khaki. So this is khaki. It's this very light brown color. That's khaki. These are khaki pants, very popular. So if you just write the word khaki, you see a lot of pictures of khaki pants. Well, let's talk about the difference in the pronunciation between these two words. So the first word is ah, and you're pushing out. Wait, no, you're eating it. You got to eat that You're pushing down when you say ah. That's number one. Khaki. Push down. Eat it. Eat that vowel sound. Khaki. But when you say number two, it's a very different sound. And this could be different depending on which accent you hear. So if it's from the UK or Australia, it might sound different. But in North America, it sounds like this. Khaki. And this you push out. This you spit out. Okay, this is push out when you do that. Number one is ka. You eat it. Ka. Cocky. That's the first one. And the second one is khaki. This led to a conversation about the word coffee, which is not surprising because this sound in the beginning, this vowel sound, it's very complicated. Just like khaki is a very complicated vowel sound. It has many little sounds inside of khaki. And the same is true about the word coffee. The way that you would say this very slowly is coffee. That's hard. That's a hard sound to make. There's a lot of little sounds in there. Coffee. Okay, so we have khaki and coffee. Very complicated vowel sounds. Very complex vowel sounds. Okay, that was the end of this class. Oh, I meant to look this up before I started this video, but I just wanted to confirm something before because I said something and I'm not sure if that's right, so let me just confirm it. I'm asking ChatGPT a question. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Okay, well, this is, I think I'm just going to stick with my definition here because it's just easier to remember. And it works, I think. All right, so this person is intermediate and he's from Israel, so his native language is Hebrew. And we were reading an article which started talking about multiplex theaters. Have you ever seen that before? Multiplex. And the way I explained it to him is that plex means levels. It doesn't, but that's what I said because I think that makes sense. Because the time you see the word plex a lot is like if you're talking about an apartment, a duplex. Du means two. And so duplex means 2 floors. And and multi means many. And plex, well, the origin of the word plex, it's kind of a complicated explanation. I'm not going to read it all, but according to ChatGPT, it means like twisted. that doesn't make any sense for understanding words. So let's stay with levels, okay? So like a duplex is 2 levels, and multiplex theater, it's a theater where if you go, they're not playing one movie or 2 movies, they're playing many different movies. There are many different places to see a movie, many different levels to see a movie. So let's stay with multiplex. Okay, plex meaning levels. So multiplex theater is a movie theater where they show many different movies. Okay, and then we were talking, and I think I said the other day, and he said, what does that mean, the other day? I hear that all the time. The other day, what does that mean? And normally you use the other day when you want to talk about something that happened 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Inside the last week, I think is the best time to use the other day. If you go beyond 1 week, it's too much. But so it's just a very non-specific 1 day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the other day. Okay, that's what that means. Then we had, this is the second class where we've talked about the word feature. I guess that's a complicated word. It's hard for people to understand what that word feature means. A feature is something special, something amazing, something to make you say, wow, something to make it desirable. So the article that we were reading was talking about movies. So we were talking about feature film. So that's like the film that makes you say, wow. Imagine you go to a multiplex theater. Do you think that you will say, wow, to all of the movies that are available? Or is there only 1 or 2 movies where you say, oh, I want to see that movie? That's the feature film. That's like the special film, the big film, the film that makes you say, wow. When you talk about features on a phone, those are like special little features, things that make you say, oh, I like this. That's something special, something that makes you want it. Sometimes when you watch a YouTube video, it will say FT and then a name. Wait, let's see if I can find that. So I'm just going to YouTube, but instead of typing something that makes sense, I'm just going to put the letters FT and see what we get. What do we have here? Okay, here's a good example here. Let's see if you can see it. Okay, so all I did was type in the letters FT. You'll see this in YouTube videos all the time. So Pitbull Fireball official video. I have no idea what Pitbull Fireball is. But you see how it says FT John Ryan? I don't know who John Ryan is, but if you do know who that is, maybe you'll say, oh, wow, John Ryan. Okay, I'm going to watch this. This is special. Do we have any more FTs here? Here's something in Korean. So here's something in Korean, and they say, but they didn't use FT, they used FEAT. I think most people put FT. So this is Chungha Eeny Meeny featuring. So that's Hoong Jung is supposed to make you say, wow. That's the big attraction. That's what FT featuring means. Okay, I hope that's clear. That was really hard to explain to him, so I'm just imagining that a lot of people get confused by that word. Okay, let's see. Okay, in the article that we were reading, it said 5 movies at the multiplex featured transformation as part of the story. 5 movies at the multiplex featured transformation as part of the story. So let's imagine that there were 10 movies. What does that mean if 5 movies featured transformation as part of the story? That means, oh wow, this movie is about transformation. And that happened 5 times. So there were 10 movies, and 5 of them you say, oh, that's about transformation. Let me know if that makes sense to you. I'm paranoid about explaining the word feature now because we spent a lot of time talking about that word the other day. Okay, then we were talking about the word plot. And plot is like the basic story. And to summarize this, we said, okay, tell me the plot of Lord of the Rings. Okay, hopefully you're familiar with that movie, because my answer was, oh, it's about a magical ring, a ring with special powers, and different people are fighting for control over the special ring. That's the plot. So a plot is like a very short, condensed way of talking about what is the story. Okay, in the article, they talked about a heroine, and that is just the guy said heroin. That's a drug. It is a drug, but also it's the female version of the word hero. So hero is used for men, and the word heroine is used for females, for women. So it's just the female form of the word heroine. And they sounds just like the drug, unfortunately. So it's like saying waiter or waitress. Okay, then we have the word feisty. Feisty means enjoy fighting, enjoy arguing, and it's usually used in a cute way. So, do you know what a Chihuahua is? Let's see. It's a type of dog. It's a very, very small dog. Let me show you a picture of a Chihuahua, because it's a good way to explain what feisty means. Okay, so Chihuahuas are very small. They can fit on your hand. They're very, very small dogs, and they have very bad attitudes. So they can be very mean, very vicious dogs. Chihuahuas, they really are sometimes. But when a Chihuahua's angry, imagine a little dog, so small it fits in your hand, being very angry. You're not scared. You laugh. And this is when you would call this dog feisty. It's a feisty dog. It means they enjoy fighting, and it's kind of cute. You're not really that scared of it. I think in the article they said feisty heroine. Usually, that word feisty is used to talk about women who want to fight, but it's cute instead of scary. I guess that's sexist. I don't know. It's very common, though, that people use feisty to talk about women or girls. However you feel about it, that's when you might use it. But I think when you use the word feisty, you're not really scared. You're more. It's funny. It's more funny than scary. Okay, we encountered the phrase the other way around, which is another way of saying the opposite. Then we talked about the word fancy, which kind of means, it could mean expensive. Sometimes it means expensive. Sometimes it means it has a lot of features. And sometimes it could mean beautiful or very decorative. Okay, and the word roughly is approximately. I'm not sure. I think he was asking the difference. What's the difference between big, giant, and enormous? So big is just big, but when you say giant or enormous, it means extremely big. Okay, and let's see. This is kind of boring. This one, I think we'll skip this guy. Okay, this is a different class here. Bind, Dyer. Okay, let's start here with bind, because bind is an interesting word. Have you ever seen that word before, bind? Bind means held together, like connected, or not connected, but things that are forced together. Let me show you a picture of a couple of words. Let's see. So for example, I don't know how old you are, but if you look at this thing, what would you call that? Do you even recognize that? Do people use those anymore? Maybe I'm just super old, but do you recognize what this is used for? Do they show an open one? Yeah, here's an open one. Where is it? I see it on the web page, but I don't see it on my screen. Yeah, here's an open one. See, this is used for putting papers together, and it's called a binder, because that's what bind means. Bind is when you force things together, put things together. Let's look at another word here. So, for example, the back of a notebook, this is called the binding. The binding, because this is where all of the things are forced together, put together. Also for a book, this is the binding, where all of the pages are put together. That's the binding of the book. Why were we talking about this? Oh, so for example, this guy was Spanish, but we were talking about visiting South America. So that's why I'm using Cartagena as an example. That's a city, a famous city in Colombia, Cartagena. And he's going there in August. So I wrote, I am bound for Cartagena. Like, that means like I will be joined, or Cartagena and I will be together. I am bound for Cartagena. Or I'm Cartagena bound, which means that's my destination. I'm going to be joined with Cartagena. It's used sometimes in that way. Bind, bound. Why were we talking about that word bound, though? Oh, because in the article that we were reading, it said, these are my words. These are not words from the article. Listen to my explanation, and you are bound to understand. What do you think that means? That's pretty common to use bound in this way. Bind, bound, bound. You are bound to understand. That means your destination, you will be joined with understanding. Your destination will be understanding. Listen to my explanation, and your destination will be understanding. You are bound to understand. That's very common to use bound in this way. For example, stop laughing at me, or I am bound to get angry. What does that mean? I'm going to be joined with angry. Anger and me, we will come together. We will be forced together. Stop laughing at me, or I am bound to get angry. We will come. Anger and me, we will come together and be one thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's pretty common, actually. I'm bound to get angry. What about this? Bring a snack on the bus trip, or you are bound to get hungry. What does that mean? It means you and hunger, you're going to be forced together. You're going to come together. You're going to be one thing. You're bound to get hungry. Bring a snack on the bus trip, or you're bound to get hungry. Very common to do that. Well, not extremely common, but not unusual. Let's say that. It's in the middle somewhere. You will definitely hear that somewhere. And that reminds me of a song. All right, let me put that. Let's see. This is a famous song from the 60s.
If you want to travel with your kid,
Wait, let me get this.
but don't want to share your kid's bedtime,
I just want to show you a picture of this, just to prove that people use it in real life. I don't know if you can see this. Probably not. The name of this song, this is a famous song from the 60s, Homeward Bound. Homeward Bound. What do you think that means if you say, I am homeward bound? That means me and home, we're going to be joined together. We're coming together. I'm going home. It's another way of saying I'm going home. It's kind of a fancy way of saying I'm going home. I'm homeward bound. Okay, that's a good song. I like them. Simon and Garfunkel. Okay. Now, when I gave him this example of bring a snack on the bus trip or you're bound to get hungry, and he was repeating it, it was not clear which word he was saying. Let's take a look at these 3 words here. Can you see number 1 and number 2 and number 3? How do you say number 1? How do you pronounce number 1? Hungry. This is a vowel that you eat. That means it goes down. When you say, huh, it goes down. You feel it down here in your throat. Hungry. Hungry. You eat. Hungry. How about number 2? Angry. This is a sound that you push out. And it's 2 sounds. It's angry. Angry. How do you say number 1? Hungry. Hungry. You push down. Hungry. I'm hungry. But if you say number 2, you have to push out, and you're making 2 sounds. A and E. Angry. Angry. Hungry. Angry. Hungry. Angry. Can you hear the difference? I wish I could hear you practicing so I could tell. What do you think? Tell me in the comments if you think you're doing it. Recently, in the past 10 years or so, there has been a new word invented, which is hangry. That's a combination of hungry and angry. I'm angry because I'm hungry. I have to eat. I'm in a bad mood because I have to eat. That's what hangry is. And actually, when he was saying hungry, it sounded like number 1, it sounded like he was saying number 3. So we had to talk about that. In our article, it said, the exact sentence was, read on, and you are bound to feel comforted. Read on, and you are bound to feel comforted. So the article was introducing some bad news or some ugly news, and it said, but don't worry, read on, and you are bound to feel comforted. Like, read on, and you will feel okay. You won't feel bad. What does read on mean to you? That's a phrasal verb, read on. Do you have any idea what that phrasal verb, read on, means? You maybe not. Maybe you haven't seen this man. He was very advanced. He's a very, very advanced student of English, and he didn't know. So I asked him. I said, "Well, what does go on mean? Do you know what go on means? Go on means continue or keep on. Keep on also means continue. You probably know those. You've probably seen those before. Carry on. Maybe you've seen that one. Carry on. That means continue. So what do you think read on means? It means continue reading. So in the article, it gave some bad news or some scary news, and it said, but don't worry, read on, and you are bound to feel comforted. So continue reading, read on, and you and comfort, you and okay will be like this, one thing. You're bound to feel comforted. Okay, and then we talked about the word, let's see. Even the most parochial must admit the benefits are immeasurable. So this is very advanced English, actually. Parochial. A parish, we'll start with the word parish. Parish, P-A-R-I-S-H. A parish is like the district of a church. People don't go to church very much anymore, but it used to be that areas were divided by church. So you had one big church, and it was in charge of one region, one area, and that was the parish. So in a city, I don't think it matters too much, because in a city there are many, many churches, and you can go to this church or that church. There's no rule what church you can go to. But in the country, a parish would be very important, because maybe your whole life was involved with this one area. So what parochial is related to this word parish. When you say something is parochial, it sounds like limited. So imagine you're living in the country in this parish, and you never leave that area. So you have a very narrow view of everything. That's what parochial means. Parochial means like maybe old-fashioned or very limited in your thinking, because you're from a very small place. So it's kind of a negative word to call someone parochial. It means like narrow-minded or old-fashioned. So even the most parochial, even the most narrow-minded person must admit the benefits are immeasurable. So even if you are narrow-minded, you have to admit there are benefits to this thing. Okay, let's see. I was telling him, be careful, because if you call someone parochial, it sounds condescending. So condescending means like looking down, and so if you're condescending to someone, you're saying, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm more experienced than you. So when you call someone parochial, Edgem is saying parochial school, but when you say parochial school, that's parochial as in parish, like it's a school that belongs to the church. So it's a school. The people of the church teach at the school, like a Catholic school is a parochial school. So it really means parish there in parochial school. That's a common word, parochial school. But here we're using parochial to mean like, somebody from a very small place, somebody very narrow-minded, somebody who isn't open to big ideas. But you have to be careful using the word parochial, because it sounds condescending. It sounds like you're talking down to them, looking down on them. Okay, let's see. Just going to skip this. Okay. All right, now let's just move on to the final part here. This is the last class. I just taught this class a few hours ago. And this is a pretty advanced person. She has a very big vocabulary. Her native language is Spanish. But we have noticed a big pronunciation issue. And the issue really involves vowels, vowel sounds. She can make the sounds very well, okay? So that's not the problem. But the problem is she gives them all very short time. So because in Spanish, all the vowels are very short. But in English, sometimes vowels can be very long. And so we've been practicing identifying when a vowel is very long and when a vowel is very short, because she speaks English very well already. It's all about pronunciation for her. So we take a very advanced article, and she's in the medical field, so we're using a medical type of article here. But we're not talking too much about vocabulary. It's mostly about the pronunciation. I think today she knew all of the words. It wasn't about words. It's about pronunciation. So that's what the final part of this class will be, just pronunciation. But what I've noticed, it's pretty amazing that her English has improved by 1,000,000 times just by doing this. So if you are having trouble being understood, this might be, I don't know because I can't hear you talk, but this might be the key to really improving your pronunciation. It was for her. And I've been doing this with more of my students now, and it's working very well. So I think that if you're having trouble with pronunciation, this is definitely part of the class that you want to really pay attention to, really practice with me this. So these are all words from the article that we were reading. Okay, well, you know what, before I start, I just have to take a 1-minute break. I'll be right back. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. Let me put on my atmosphere music again. Oh, I lost it. Where'd it go? Okay. All right, let's get started with some pronunciation. Okay, let's take a look at these first two words. High altitudes. If we look at that first word, high, what do you think about that vowel sound? Is that a long sound? Is that really long or is that short? Let's compare. Like if you say hi, hi, what do you think? Hi. It's long. It's kind of like 3 E's. Hi. So it's not hi. It's hi. Hi. Now let's take a look at the next word. Altitudes. Alti. 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 What do you think about those two vowel sounds? Alti. Are those long sounds? Alti. What about tudes? Tudes. That's, you have to kiss when you make that sound. Tudes. That's 2 short sounds and 1 long sound. Altitudes. Altitudes. And when you say them together, think about that first sound. High. Very long sound. But then there's another vowel sound. So it's a super long vowel sound. High altitudes. It's very long. If you try to rush through that, it will become difficult to understand and maybe annoying to listen to. High altitudes. Altitudes. It's so long. Tudes. Altitudes. High altitudes. See how that is? It's very long. High altitudes. Okay, let's take a look at the next 2 words. Have shown. Have shown. Have. Have. What do you think about that? Is that a long sound? We're talking about duration here because long vowels could mean something else. But we're just talking about is it long in time or short in time? Have. I think that's long. Sometimes they can be long or short, but in general, this is like, these are not rules that we're doing. This is just in general how it's done. Sometimes people make it shorter or longer. The problem is if you're very inconsistent, we could have a problem understanding what you're saying. Have. I think most of the time that's going to be long. Have. Have. Now listen to the next word. Show. Show. If you think about the name of the letter in the middle of that word, W, that's double U. So that's two U's. So you have an O, which already has an U, because in English, O is O. O, U, O. Then you have a W. O. O. So it's very long. It's like a triple U. Shown. Shown. Have shown. Have shown. High altitudes have shown. Lots of long sounds in there. And if you're not paying attention to the duration of these vowel sounds, it will be confusing sometimes what you're saying. Or maybe I won't understand what you're saying. High altitudes have shown very long sounds. If you try to say that high altitudes have shown, high altitudes have shown, if you don't give them time, it becomes very difficult to understand what that is. You have to take your time. And we're exaggerating right now, but it's good. It's good to exaggerate like this for right now. If you're having trouble with your pronunciation, people understanding you, it's good to start by exaggerating like this. It's no problem. Because then you start to pay attention and notice. High altitudes have shown. Okay, now let's take a look at the next two words. That hikers. So we have three vowel sounds in that phrase. That hikers. What do you think about the first word? That. Is that long or short? That hikers. It's very short. What about the next vowel sound? High. That's very long. That hikers. What about the next one? Curs. Hikers. That's short. So that's short, long, short. That hikers. High altitudes have shown that hikers. Try to say it like that. It's really impressive, you know, when I was working with her earlier this morning, I was very impressed with what a difference this makes. It's becomes so clear if you do this. High altitudes have shown that hikers. Let's take a look at the next two words. Who believe. Who. What do you think about that sound? Who. That vowel sound. Is that long or short? Who. What about the word believe? Is that long or short? Believe. That's short and then long. Who believe. High altitudes have shown that hikers who believe. This could be really amazing if you pay attention to this. I'm telling you. I promise you. Okay, and then we have... Now the next one... Okay, let's see. We've got the word are. Okay. Now sometimes some of these words, sometimes you can pronounce them shortly. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's really important to pronounce them long. If you think about people in the UK or people in Australia, most of them don't like to pronounce the R at the end of a word. So if you have a word like are, the verb to be, are, the only way that you know the person is saying are is because of the vowel sound. So if you're not pronouncing the R, it could sound like this. Ah. And if you say The short sound, that would be very difficult to understand because it's not the right sound. They are. No, you have to say they are. They are. It has to be very long in duration because if you say the wrong one, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So we have they. What about that word they? Is that long or short? They. It's long. It's two sounds. It's e. They. 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 Okay, and then we have the long R. They are. Because if you say that in the UK or maybe in Australia, it would be like they are. They are. It's not just they are. They are. You have to give it time. You have to give it some time. Or if you make the contraction, there. Listen to the vowel sound in the middle of the contraction. There. 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 It's very complicated vowel sound. It's not just one little simple sound. It's very long. Imagine if you don't pronounce R's, as many people who speak English don't. There. There. So it's really important to pay attention to the vowel sound. How complicated is the vowel sound? How long is it? They'll all help you in your pronunciation, but also your listening. Okay, so let's see. We have high altitudes have shown that hikers who believe they are. Okay, now we have two. The next phrase is 3 words. Breathing in oxygen. Breathing in oxygen. Breathing. 2 vowel sounds in that word. Breathing. Breathing. Are those long sounds or short sounds? Breathing. It's long and then short. Long, short. Breathing. Breathing in. Breathing in. What about in? Is that long or short? Breathing in. Breathing in. Breathing in. What about oxygen? Oxygen. Gin. Oxy. That's long. I'm just doing this with you. Oxy. Oxy. Long, short. Long, short. And then gin. Oxygen. Oxygen. Breathing in oxygen. Breathing in oxygen. Breathing in oxygen. If we put all of the stress on the vowel sounds and barely pronounce the consonants, you can still understand. If you're doing the right length, you can still understand the sentence. Breathing in oxygen. I can still understand that. But if you say breathing in oxygen, it's really hard to understand that. Okay, let's see. Now we have this full phrase here, but have in fact been given. But. What do you think about that word, but? But. Is that long or short? But. But. No, that's short. That's the easy one. That's an easy one. But. But have. What about that word, have? Is that a long or a short sound in the middle there? We're talking about duration. Have. That's really long. But have. But have. But have. What about in fact? In fact, what do you think about that? In. We know that. We've already done that one. In. That's short. But what about fact? That's very long. Fact. But in fact. But, let's see. But have. Sorry, I forgot the word have. But have in fact. But have in fact. But have in fact. Now it's funny because the next word, B-E-E-N. In America, in the United States, it's very common people will say bin, bin, bin. That's very short, bin. But, sometimes the Canadian accent and the American accent are very similar. So it's possible, depending on where the person is from. I could talk to a Canadian and maybe I would think they're American. But there are some words that Canadians pronounce differently, and BEEN is one of them. So it's very normal for a Canadian to say bean. They make it very long. Bean. But in the US, most people will say bin. Bin, very short. So it's some of these words are flexible. It depends. So I'm going to use the short pronunciation here, bin. So we have, but have in fact been, well, now I made it long. Let me do it again. But have in fact been, but have in fact been, but have in fact been, but have in fact been. Now this final word, given, 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 given. What do you think about that? Given. Are those long sounds or short sounds? Given, given. Those are short. Get been, but have in fact been given, been given. Say those three words together. Been, give, been. See, they're short. Been given. The way I say it, they're short. But have in fact been given. But have in fact been given. All right, let's start from the top here. High altitudes have shown that hikers who believe they are breathing in oxygen, but have in fact been given. See, if you just pay attention to the vowel sounds, I'm sure that your pronunciation will say, wow, people understand me now. It's a miracle. It really is a magic. Okay. We have cylinders is our next word. Cylinders. Cylinders. Just thinking about this with you. What do you think about the vowel sounds? I think that the first sound is long. The first vowel sound is long because the accent is on it. Cylinders. That's why. Normally, I is a short sound, but here there's an accent, so I think it's long. Cylinders. Linders. Linder. 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 Cylinders. So I think it's long, short, short. Cylinders. What do you think? Cylinders. 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 Okay. Containing. Oh, now we have an interesting combination here. Well, let's start with the word containing. Contain. Contain. So two sounds, two vowel sounds. Contain. What do you think? Long, short, short, long, long, long. Contain. I think that's short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. Contain. That A is two sounds. A. Contain. Contain. What about the final part? Ning. Ning. Is that long or short? Containing. 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 It's short, long, short. Containing. Containing. Now let's take a look at the next word, which is ordinary. Ordinary. That's complicated. It's a complicated word. What about the first sound? Or. It's very long, and I think that depending on the accent, it could be extremely long. I think some people might say or. Or. That's three sounds. Or. Oh, now I sound like I'm from the South. Or. That's how they talk in the southern United States. Ordinary. Ordinary. Or. But think about the complication if you don't pronounce R's. Because in the UK, it would be ordinary. Ordinary. Or. So it's not ordinary. It's ordinary. Ordinary. You have to say all those different little sounds. Or You will misunderstand what people are saying, but also people won't understand you very well. So that O in the front, it's very big. It's a very long sound. Ordinary. What about the second vowel sound? D. Orde. 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 That's very short. Orde. What about nary? Nary. Those are long. Ordinary. We're exaggerating. Nobody talks like that. Nobody says ordinary. But I'm just trying to show you and help you pronounce these. We have to exaggerate a little bit because we're learning. So, but don't say it like that in real life. Ordinary. Say ordinary. Ordinary. Okay, but it becomes interesting because of the next word, which is air. Now, if I say that word, air, very, very slowly, listen to all of the sounds in there. It's very long. Air. Air. There's like 4 sounds in there. Air. And think about in the UK or in Australia, maybe they won't pronounce the R. It's just air. That's why the vowel sounds are so important. Air. Air. And it becomes extra interesting because the word in the front, ordinary, ends with a very long sound. So when you say them together, it's ordinary air. It's a lot of sounds that you probably miss when you're trying to communicate with people. Ordinary air. Ordinary air. Let me say it normal, in a normal way. Ordinary air. Ordinary air. All those sounds are in there, but they're just very short when they're put together like that. Okay. Let's move on to the next phrase, which is produce real chemical changes. Produce. What do you think about that word, produce? Produce. Are those long vowel sounds or short vowel sounds? Produce. First one, it's in this situation, normally it would be long, but it's not long here. It's short. Pr, pr, pr. But then when we get to the next word, this is a kissing vowel. So when you say it, you have to kiss. Produce. Produce. You have to give a kiss when you say produce. So it's short, pra, and then deuce, very big. Produce, and you have to give a kiss. Now, just as a side here, there's another word which is produce, and can you see number 1 and number 2 here? We have produce. That's the word that we're talking about. That's a verb. That means making something. But then we have this other word, produce, which is a noun, and it's two kissing vowels. Produce. You have to give 2 kisses when you say this word, produce, and it's different from number 1 because the accent is on the first syllable. Produce. And do you know what that word means? That's a noun, produce, and that is actually, let me find a picture. That is used to talk about fruits and vegetables at the store. So if you go to the grocery store, this is called the produce section. This is the section where you buy fruits and vegetables. That's produce. Double kiss on that. Do they have any signs that say produce? Is that a sign? Just in case you don't believe me. Oh, we can't read it. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Just believe me. It's true. Okay. So let's go back to our phrase, which is the first word, which is produce. Produce. Now, what about this second word, real? Is that a long sound or a short sound? Real. Oh, that's really long. That's a couple of sounds. Real. It's like 4 or 5 sounds. Real. Real. If you try to go through these words quickly, real, people won't understand you, especially in the middle of a sentence. People will not understand that word. It's really important to try to pronounce as closely as possible the real vowel sound. Produce real. Produce real. Chemical. 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 I think, what is that last sound? Cull. Chemical. No, it's short. Those are all short sounds. Chemical. Chemical. Short. Chemical. So let's try to say that phrase. Produce real chemical. Produce real chemical. Okay, and the next word is changes. What do you think about that vowel sound? First vowel sound. Changes. Oh, that's super long. Changes. Changes. What about the second sound? Jizz. That's short. Changes. Changes. Produce real chemical changes. Produce real chemical changes. Let's try to read from the beginning. Let's see. Tests at high altitudes have shown that hikers who believe they are breathing in oxygen but have in fact been given cylinders containing ordinary air produce real chemical changes. I wish I could hear you practicing this, because I'm just remembering, I mean, it sounds ridiculous when I'm doing this in the video, but I just remember doing this with my student this morning. And I was just so surprised at how much better she sounded when she did this. It's something that she's ignoring. And I was surprised at how well she did when we started doing this. And I would love to hear you doing it too, to see if it's working for you. Okay, earlier we mentioned the word breathing. And this is a pretty common problem, that people learning English, or people who don't speak English as the first language, they have a problem pronouncing the TH sound in breathing. So when she was talking, she was saying number 2. Can you see that? Number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is breathing, and number 2 it's a word. It's a different word, but it's breeding. And breeding, number 2, breeding with a D, breeding, means making babies or reproducing. It doesn't mean sex, but it means like producing babies. And so actually, for example, a dog breeder, that's a profession, that's a job that somebody has, and that's making dogs and selling dogs. That's a dog breeder. That's what a breed is. Breeding is. It's making babies. But the difference between number 1 and number 2 is when you are saying number 1, you have to move your tongue in front of your teeth. Like that. Breathing, breathing, breathing. That's the difference. And number 2, you push the tongue up at the back of the teeth. Breathing. See, you can't see my tongue. Breathing. Breathing. That's number 2. But you can see my tongue when I say number 1. breathing, breathing. Number 1, breathing. See where my tongue is? Breathing. But when you say number 2, the tongue is up here in the back of the mouth. Breathing, breathing. You don't see my tongue because it's up here. Breathing, breathing. Number 1, breathing. Number 2, breathing, breathing. Also, when you talk about breeds, that could mean like classification. So let me just show you a picture here. I showed her this picture. I said, "Oh, tell me, what type of dog is this?" She said, "Oh, that's a German Shepherd." Right, it's a German Shepherd. But probably if a native speaker were talking to another native speaker, they probably wouldn't say, "What type of dog is this?" They would say, "What breed of dog is this?" Because we use that word breed to talk about the classification of plants and animals. So you can use that also with plants. What breed of plant is that? So it's like production, reproduction of organisms. That's breeding. I breed dogs. That means I have dogs come together and make puppies, and then I sell the puppies. That's a profession. Professional breeder. A dog breed is a German Shepherd. Okay, let's see. Oh, let's move up. This is the last page. We're almost done. And we talked about plant breeds. Oh, then we talked about purebred. Okay, so what do you think a purebred German Shepherd is? If breed or bred is the past participle of breed. Breed, bred. It's an irregular verb. If I say that German Shepherd is purebred, what does that mean? That means 100% German Shepherd. Okay, and by the way, the opposite, when it's a mix of many different things, that's a mutt. That's what a mutt is. And then we were talking about if you speak Spanish, then you will know the expression like having good education. Doesn't mean going to school. It means that you have good manners or that you're very well behaved. You know how to act in public. That's another way that you can use the word breeding. To have good breeding means to be very well educated, to know the correct way to act in public. Or you could say well-bred. And actually, that's the end. We're finished for today. Wow, that was pretty long. That was 2 hours. Well, I thank everybody who stayed the entire time. I'm really glad to see everyone here. And the next time I have a bunch of notes from my classes, I'll be doing another one of these. It's been really fun. Let me know if you found this helpful in the comments. Write to me. Let me know you're watching. I see all these people watching and nobody ever talks to me. I feel like you hate me. So write to me. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you'd like to know more about. What do you think about the pronunciation? I really find that helpful for my students when I'm doing it with them, but I would like to know what you think. Has it helped you, these pronunciation exercises, or do you find them boring? Let me know. Okay, well, I'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.